Thanks for coming to our session. It's the last session of the day and the best session of the day because we have some great speakers today that will share our experiences from the pilot from the 3 agencies. And we have Todd and Amy who are here today who are living with the assistive technologies that will be able to give us some input and firsthand experience and information. So we're so excited to have them here. And I'm going to turn it over to Austin to introduce himself. I'm sorry, I'm Pam Fields. If you weren't here before, I am the CEO at Mid-State ARC and a consultant on the project.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Austin Hamilton Miller. I'm the Technology Program Manager for Strategies to Empower People. STEP has been providing services and supports for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities for over 30 years. We're grateful to be a part of, Grateful to be a part of the assistive technology pilot to explore how technology can better play a role in supporting our individuals receiving services with ILS, SLS, and enhanced SLS, as well as employment. STEP provides services in partnership with Alta, California, North Bay Regional Centers across 6 counties that range from urban to suburban and supports a little over 400 individuals in these programs. For us, this service model has the potential to not only act as a workforce solution, but also serve to increase independence, reduce passive supervision supports, and provide our aging individuals with tools to remain self-sufficient and offer service delivery in native languages with cultural inclusivity no matter where you are. With me today I have Todd and Amy, who are currently as the first cohorts receiving services, along with Amy, the DSP, or Amy's DSP, Karen DeBartolo, and our Deaf Services Technology Assessor, Stephanie Tellander.
Hi everyone, Vanessa Bull with East Bay Innovations. And were we talking about why we got into it yet? Okay. We service clients in the Bay Area of California, San Leandro, Hayward, all throughout Alameda County. Across the board, about 700 clients. And for the pilot, we have 10 clients. And yeah.
Hello everybody, I'm Desmond McKenzie. I work with On My Own Independent Living Services in Sacramento, California. Currently serving as the program manager for assistive technology. It's all very new for us. Collaborating side by side with STEP and EBI. Our clients, they are also Northern Bay Area, Sacramento proper, Greater Sacramento, and the city of Sacramento. Close to 400 to 500-ish clients, so we have many different departments. This is our newest and most exciting. And one thing that I really, really love about this pilot is I feel like as a program manager, I'm able to bring a different kind of perspective because at one point in time, 10 years ago, when I first got into SLS, I was a DSP. And I worked with the state. I got into social services, and then I became a case manager. So I take all this knowledge, and I've worked exclusively with SLS. So there's a lot that I don't shy away from when it comes to technology. And I just find that I bring this a little daring and a little let's try it out. So thank you everybody for coming. I just want to really reach out to our interpretation team and give you guys a special thank you as well.
Awesome. So why did we decide to get involved in the project? Well, if you were here for our first session, you would have heard Tom and Jackie going back and forth on their idea to bring to the state of California for a pilot. That came after reading one of Pam's blogs in the Anchor booklet or article, and that's where the idea really came from. At the time that the article came out, it was during COVID. And so COVID, as we all know, impacted the workforce and how we do supports with staff. And so there were major concerns on how we could get staff in the homes with clients and also continue to progress with the supports that we provide. Some of the goals that we wanted to approach when discussing the pilot is rates. How could we get rates going across the board so this can be implemented throughout the state for other agencies? And we also wanted to discuss health and safety for clients, and also limit the amount of staff that they would have to meet with on a daily basis throughout their lives.
When choosing our groups, we are looking at a variety of different things, but we're looking at like disabilities, their social groups, and the support services that they get. When we were choosing the groups, we wanted to make sure that the technology could benefit them, and if it could be the key that can help maintain or increase independence across the board. So looking at disabilities, we looked at things from visual, hearing, physical, intellectual, and memory-related losses. It was important for us to ensure that we could get people who lived with disabilities day to day, and to ensure that we're looking at the best technology available and how we could integrate it into their daily lives. For social groups, we wanted to make sure we targeted an array of different individuals, from couples and singles, people from rural, urban, or suburban backgrounds, age groups, different sexes, social economical backgrounds, family support, from having none to having a strong family support, or even looking at those that were homeless or those who've lived in their homes for many years. Lastly, we wanted to look at the different support services that we provide and select different ones that we could see that could address the staffing crisis that we all know is going on. So these support services were independent living, supported living, medically enhanced, and just enhanced in general, and those waiting to get services. Enhanced supported living services is not the cheapest route to go. So hopefully with this technology, we can provide an avenue where we can provide cost-effective ways in maintaining and improving overall quality of life.
I'd like to add something on how we chose the group. One of the criteria from the regional center was that we made sure that we had a really diverse group and that we were addressing language barriers if we could. So I know on our side, we kind of made a point to really search out that diversity, because what we're looking for is a model that's going to create generalizability for the whole state. So if you're sitting in here as an SLS agency or an ILS agency, that's what we're doing, is we're trying to create this model. So getting the clients, it was really important to try to find those avenues of diversity. Do you have anything that you wanted to add on that one? Okay, so one of the things I looked at, which just being a tech forward person myself, was age. We have a lot of clients that are beginning to age into place, so our range of clients go from 23 years old all the way to 79 years old. And that's who we're trialing technology with, because we want it to apply broadly, right? Oh, it's back to me. Okay, so client buy-in. It's not just client buy-in. We're talking about natural support, your staff, the agency as a whole. Getting buy-in means getting everyone on board together so that we're flowing and we're trying this new technology and we're tackling those little paths of resistance. And it's really important, especially if you're here as a service agency, is to know that when we're thinking of technology and we're making these plans, we're integrating them client first. It's easy to kind of go wayward and kind of think, oh, I have this idea or this idea, but it's really, really important to be client first. And I think we have this special opportunity as supportive agencies, because we've worked with our clients. You know, we know them, we know some of their needs, and we know some of their struggles firsthand, versus an outside agency that's going to come in, or an outside service provider to do all of these assessments for you. So as a service providing agency, we have an idea of where we want to go, and we're not going to oversell. We're not going to oversell our clients, because STEP, EBI, on my own, we don't get a discount, or we don't get any benefit if we choose an OrCam over an Envision. You know, we're not going to push a product to our clients that isn't going to truly help them. So I think that as provider agencies, we have a really imperative opportunity to, you know, provide these services without all the bloat and without all the commercial sales. No offense to any providers and vendors, because you guys are definitely wonderful and I appreciate working with you, but sometimes we need to trim it down to make sure we're not creating, too much or trying to hand our clients something that isn't really within their wheelhouse. The second thing would be kind of addressing hesitancy, and I know we're kind of thinking that. Actually, when I was walking out of Dr. Decker's session, I heard two people saying, yeah, I'm not going to go to the next one because my clients would never do that. And I thought, really? They already assumed that their clients weren't going to be able to grasp this or that, and I just find that it's tough. It's really, really tough. It's important to create an environment that approaches the culture of technology with open minds. We got to address what technology might be able to do and what it might not be able to do at all, and be really transparent and just be really honest with that. Buying in from the staff, it kind of goes along those lines of just being really honest of, they're in fear that their position might change in some way, and it will, but addressing all the things like the positives, how their focus can shift from, okay, well now we can work on these life skills, and just slowly changing the gears and changing the focus of the way that our DSPs are working with staff, and it helps relieve some of those fears, builds up that culture, and breaks down that resistance that staff might have. And I believe EBI Vanessa can speak to this one. Getting buy-in from natural support is so important. Oh my goodness. And those of you SLS providers in the room, you already know what I'm talking about. Natural support can really influence a lot with our clients because they can do things that we can't do. We're not here to tell the clients what to do. We're here to encourage our clients to work towards all these objectives and all these goals. But ultimately, we're not there to tell them yes or no, it's not going to happen. But someone's mom will definitely do that. Someone's brother or sister will go in there and take a lot more control. So it's really important that you share all of the things about the technology that you want to bring into your client's life with the natural support. Really start those education and enlightenment sessions. Be very open and transparent about it. And the most paramount thing is letting everybody know. That's your case managers, your department directors, your staff, your natural support, and most importantly, your clients. You got to let them know that you're not there to leave them hanging. You're not there to put in remote support and walk away. You're not going to install this high-tech fridge and just let them fend for themselves. It was paramount for our clients getting on board to know that they always had somebody there that they could call, they could talk to, reach out for training anytime, and that confidence just kind of helped. And it was really rare that we had to use that, but just knowing that they had someone on call, ready to go, it really helped get their buy-in and get them excited to try technology. Did you guys want to add anything?
I was just going to ask Amy or Todd.
Go
ahead. Nope.
Since we have Amy and Todd here, I wanted to ask you guys, when the tech pilot program was brought to you guys, what did you guys think about it? About all this, putting new things into your house or different technology that can help you. What do you think, Todd?
Well, it was a new experience for me. It was definitely very new. They installed some things into my house, and at first I was really excited to make something, and then I had kind of forgotten what I was supposed to do, and I felt like I needed some more support and some more training after they had installed those things. And then the other thing that I was feeling was there was something
The
with
faucets?
the faucets,
Mhm.
and then when I was washing my hands,
and he's talking about the flood that he caused,
yes, and then
the
it flooded and
damage.
it got ruined, and it was very damaged. And so yeah, that happened. And then the other thing that I wanted to add to was, I'm trying to think, can you think of anything else? I think there was something else. to think of.
Amy, what are your thoughts?
I was definitely excited about the technology. I feel like there were some pros and cons to it that I did have to weigh, and then they hadn't installed anything yet that was really different, and then they started to do that, and some more different technology, and I was able to understand kind of, you know, I guess, yeah, they hadn't set it up yet, they hadn't kind of set it yet, but what were some of the positive things? What were some of the positives? Well, the technology definitely was a positive, I would say. And then, like, when it hadn't been set up yet, I was a little hesitant about it. And then didn't they put something in your oven, too? Wasn't that a huge plus for you guys, too? They installed an oven? Then, yeah, they did install some, the toba, they put in the oven. And I kind of waited until they taught me how to use it again so that I could fully understand how to use the technology in the oven. But yeah, it's, you know, feelings of excitement and overwhelmed at the same time. Definitely was a mix of both feelings. But yeah, I was kind of unsure of how to do it at first. I wasn't sure, you know, they ordered it, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait on this.
So thank you, Amy and Todd. But as you can see, the buy-in from the people that we support it's not a big issue at all. They were, as soon as they got the technology in the house, they're ready for more. They're like, what's the new thing that's going to come in? So the buy-in process was a lot focused on getting everybody else to get in, the family, the natural support, the Alta, the regional centers. They're all very hesitant about letting them have access to certain things. But as soon as it got into their hands, they loved it. So that's all I want to add on her.
What were some of the fears from the families?
Well, I actually wanted to get into that a little bit. A part of that, the buy-in, is making sure that we're communicating, that we're not creating a surveillance state for our clients. And I think that is the biggest fear, is that there are cameras going into these homes and they're always going to be watched. If you saw Pam's last presentation, there was one camera for the door that points outwards. Of course, you can add as many cameras as you want wherever the client wants, right? But we're not the ones saying we need to add that in, and that's one of the fears. I think also just keeping information safe, private. If you're moving things online, going paperless. But we do it all the time in our daily lives. So why should our clients be kept from doing something similar, as long as we're addressing the boundaries, what are the parameters, and sharing with the family that we're not here to exploit clients for the sake of technology. Technology is being used as a tool solely, and it's not going to replace the people that are in their lives. It's going to create more quality time, I think, that we spend with our clients over time.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I guess, Karen, I wanted to ask you, when we started this tech thing, did you have any concerns or fears as a DSP?
Actually, no. I was kind of relieved. Yeah, I definitely was very relieved. Yeah, I definitely feel more relieved that, you know, that they would have First Heart in their room and in their restroom, just because in the past something has happened to Amy when she was using the restroom, and so it was very nice to have that back up there, knowing, you know, if it's at 6 p.m. Someone's there, but then after that, knowing that she always has that safety mechanism. So there were, you know, a few issues with Red Heart before where 911 actually did show up. But it was in error. They didn't need it, but at least it was a good test, knowing that it works, if they ever did.
That's
Yes, the firemen did come.
that's the one thing about the getting this new tech in, is no matter how much you plan, there's always something that's going to come up. So thank you guys for being our the test targets for us, to make sure we that everything's working.
I want to show the video.
Okay, so next up we have a video. You're good. from one of our clients that's in the pilot program. She couldn't be here today, but she did work with us on creating a video that we wanted to share with you.
My name is Jessica Hunt, and I am working on my own. So I do TDS, the assistive technology, and then the ILS. I believe I have about 10 assistive technology pieces of equipment that help me out. The technology helps me a great deal, as in it makes me faster at certain things. Helps me read a bunch of small print in different ways. The way my parents were, they would just go and do everything for me. They wouldn't let me even try. Independent wise, my brother, he's trying to figure out now how much he needs to help me or how much he doesn't need to help me. Assistive technology has made it for family members and friends not to help me as much. The advice that I would give someone trying assistive technology for the first time would be take it slow sometimes so you can make sure you're doing it correctly. Ask questions of people who have used it before. Don't be scared of it, and try it.
So we saw Jess using a few different devices. She was definitely the one that I had got those Envision glasses for that didn't work, but she uses so much technology now. She's using the CCTV reader, and you know, we don't think about it, but the little things like the Orcam reader she's using to read the license plate. Well, she does Uber and Lyft all over town, and I asked her, I was like, well, we asked her actually, how do you know if you're getting in the right car, Jess? And she's like, oh, you know, just kind of wing it. And I'm like, no. So it's kind of how it came up, and it was like a lot of trial and error. You know, it took us maybe, I want to say like 2 weeks before we could figure out how to get the plates to read with the reader. So it's all about trial and error, and I think that's where we're headed next, right?
All right, so when assessing for barriers, we were looking at barriers for our self-advocates. It was both a fun and a challenging process, as we wanted to focus on the type of things that were hindering them from being successful in capturing their independence, or the need of staff helping them achieve things. The first thought when we were addressing barriers was accessibility, and how things in the community or even right at home were causing a dependency on staff. Some examples was like low vision or blind individuals gaining better access to the communities. Those with limited movement being able to access lights or open doors within their homes. A deaf person getting a doorbell installed that flashes lights instead of a sound-based, so they know when someone's at the door. Or even visual reminders or prompts for doctor's appointments for someone with memory loss. Another barrier we began to realize that we needed to pay more attention to was the different health factors that individuals face and how they became barriers in achieving things or goals that were set out. For some, there was a struggle to identify medications, which medications they needed to take, or for what time they needed to take them. For another, it was the fact that they were prone to having seizures and they felt unsafe accessing the community around them. These ideas were as important for us to tackle as we began to research technology and how it could best target these obstacles and free up for the self-advocates to reach the goals that were set out in their ISPs. An important reminder for us when we began researching technology that could target these barriers to ensure that technology didn't become a barrier in itself. There's a lot of amazing technology out there that can target a lot of things, but for an individual, but when it comes with a cost of learning how the technology works and ensuring that our self-advocates can become experts with it as well. The last thing we would want is to give someone the newest thing on the market just to make their lives that much harder. An example that maybe Amy and Todd can attest to is that equipping a house with a smart door lock and then them not being able to access said door when they're on their own. something to keep in mind as you begin to journey down this road of implementing technology in your company. So we had just, to talk about that smart lock, we had just put in these new smart locks for them, and it's a really cool idea. And one day they got a text from Karen saying that they were not able to access or get into the house. Todd ended up jumping through the window, his bedroom window, to get into the house to unlock the door. So so that was something where it was a trial and error again on our part to make sure that we're teaching them and that the technology is not becoming the barrier, but it's more of opening.
Fortunately, he didn't hit that first alert when he jumped in there. They were paranoid about that.
Do you feel
But there was no choice. There was no choice. I had to go in.
do you feel better about the
Yeah. Fortunately, it was just, we damaged the screen, but we didn't have a choice. How do you get in?
do you feel better now with the technology? Feel better?
It's better. Yeah.
Finding and trialing technology. You know, a lot of this we went over. I don't know if you guys were here in Pam's previous session. And also, I can only speak for on my own, but like really us trialing and finding technology, like I know I'm so very grateful. I'm pretty sure you guys are also grateful for all the guidance that we've gotten from Miss ARC. Appreciate you so much. Getting us started, getting our foot in the door and really training us and educating us on all the possibilities, how to do the assessments. You know, we worked really closely. And really that's what this pilot is doing, is expanding that into multiple locations in California for the rest of the state. So definitely thank you so much. But kind of what Austin was talking about, assessing those barriers. Once we began to do those assessments, even live while we were doing them, there might have been times that ideas started to kind of flourish. And we kind of were like, okay, yeah, this is what we're gonna try out. This is an idea for this. And the door lock situation, the automatic faucets, like you start catching on to different areas that a client's quality of life can be improved, that their independence can be intensified and fostered into something greater. And if not, you know, if you're doing the assessments and it doesn't come to you, that's okay. It just means that you're pretty much off to the think tank. And that's why this first bullet, it just says research, 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 because that's a lot of it. You know, you might not know what it is. You might not know what the device is that you need, but you have a general idea of what you might want it to do. So doing a think tank session, taking your ideas and literally just searching them online, like a device that opens my door. You know, some people might not know that there's a lock that does an eye gaze read that will, you know, pop your lock open for you, or a proximity lock where you could have it on your phone and as soon as your client is approaching their home, it automatically unlocks so they could just walk right through. You know, there's a lot that we just learned from researching. And sometimes we would have an idea of like maybe a smart oven. And we would start researching and we would find one. The important thing that we did is we didn't settle. Like when we found like a smart switch or plug, we kept digging and digging because ultimately you might find something better. So it was really important for us to examine all of the details, figure out all the different aspects of what a device could do, and just keep looking because you might ultimately find something that's much better for your client. The next thing would be to look on YouTube. There's a wealth of information on YouTube that we use to compare devices without spending thousands and thousands of dollars buying them, which I kind of wish I would have done better with those vision glasses. But the product comparisons are really great. What's really great about the demonstration videos on YouTube is that it takes it away from the manufacturer's perspective, because we're looking at perfect scenarios, you know, the perfect OrCam read, the perfect situation, the perfect variables. No, we want to take those Envision glasses outside on an overcast day, or maybe it's raining, you know, scenarios that aren't so perfect. So that's why I think the YouTube demos are really great tools because a lot of the times you can find clients who have their own YouTube channels, and we'll follow them, and we're checking out what they're using because, hey, if the blind guy says that this is the reader, I want that reader, and that's how I ended up buying those vision glasses and 2 Orcam readers, by the way. I just kept going. So, getting in there and checking out the videos for people that use them really helped. Next is remote support services. That was a really scary one for us. So just in our search, we have experience with remote service that kind of takes the control of the environment, like the reporting, the monitoring, and the responses to alerts and alarms to your client. They take that away from the agency. That made us really nervous. That makes all of us really, really nervous because we're like, this is what we do. This is what we do in SLS. We don't just not answer. So we made sure that we paired a service like that up with a very independent client who is communicative and a really good reporter, because we didn't want that type of service to go to someone who is going to be isolated if something went wrong, like a downed hub or the internet goes down and now they don't have access to the service. So we made sure that the clients that got that type of service had their own cell phone and knew how to reach out in case there was any type of emergency. There's another type of system that will build the remote program for you. They will come out and do the assessments, even though you've already done so many, and they will put together a package, your shaker, your bed shakers, your window blinds, your door locks, all of it, everything you can think of, and then they hand you the hub. You get to respond to the alerts, you can do the monitoring, and we're using that one as well. Another type of thing you could do is put it together yourself, right? So this is better for clients that don't have a lot of needs and maybe you want to hone in on some specific things. Just like using ancillary devices, you can put together your own package. But again, as an agency, you're responding. It's not a third party. There's no one else that's going to call the police if there's an emergency. You're going into shift. You're doing the documentation with all of them, but you're doing that firsthand documentation and all the training, all of the ongoing training, and you're doing all the device repairs. So there's a little bit of pros and cons with all 3 types that I kind of talked about. We're trying out all 3 and just kind of giving it a roll to see what's kind of the best fit. And it's going to be different for every client. Did you guys want to add anything about remote services at all?
What were the kind of systems you used?
Well, I do use all 3 right now. So we did put together a package. I do use Safe in Home for they have full monitoring, responding, and alerts, and they do reach out to us, and they do have an emergency response tree. So it's not like we're completely in the dark. We do get to see their staff's regular documentation. If there is a situation that's an emergency, they do call us out right away, and we respond just like any other SLS crisis. We didn't take the wheels all the way off. We're still there. We're still SLS doesn't ever sleep. So, and we did try to put together our own package through the Hero medication monitor and the iGuard stove, because they both have 24/7 monitoring on them.
What about Vanessa? What did you use?
Yeah, so our agency is working with Simply Home, and we're creating our own remote monitoring system, and they provide the devices and the hub that connects for Wi-Fi or cellular, and those devices, there's bed sensors, motion sensors, flood detector sensors, and a few other ones I can't think of off the top of my head. Sometimes you can add on devices as well. If you're coordinating with the team, it could take a little longer depending on the programming, but that's what we're using right now.
Right now, we're using the ARM system, which Pam helped us come out here and helped us install it. But it was good for us to learn how to do a lot of the monitoring on our own. Like we have everything that we needed necessarily for like sensors and stuff like that, but the biggest part to learn is, I guess, getting a remote support professional, somebody who can do it there, but we're still working on those for the rates. We're also working with Grand Care. We're getting, that's the reminder system and everything. We're using that for one of our employers.
Right, so it's important to note when you're looking at the systems, and I think all three of these providers have tried to use a variety so that when the rates are set for California and when they build in how your system's going to work, they will have tried a variety of the systems, and it wasn't just one that they've tried. So they really have worked hard to make sure that there's a variety, not just a variety of the individuals from age and cognitive needs and different disabilities, but the types of technology that they're using, so that they're getting to see all the different things and how they work and what works best for one person doesn't work so good for another person. So there is no one size fits all, right? It's really individualized, and that's why the assessments are so important, to make sure that you have the right system and the right devices for the right person.
There's a question back here.
Oh, sure.
Sorry. What are your measurements of success for whether it's a good choice or not? This is all really cool, but like, is it we're looking at this doorknob and it meets licensing number 1, 2, 3, which makes it a success, or is it just the door didn't open, now it does open? Like, how are you factoring those things in to say this is a good choice versus where it's adding things?
That's a good question. There's
Yeah, I think it's part of the assessment, right? Where
Yeah.
you have to figure out what you want the device to do.
I was just gonna say it's before you even get to the technology part, it's assessing what barriers the person has in the first place. So if it's for example, in Amy and Todd's case, there's the front door wasn't closing all the way. So sometimes they have a dog, so he would run out the front door. So it becomes a barrier where they're having to search for the dog because the front door is not closing all the way or it's not locking all the way. So if we're able to replace technologies that can get rid of that barrier where they're not worrying about that certain thing anymore and they can focus on their independent life, then that's a success in our eyes, and that we've been able to change the barrier in that sense.
And they're also tied into the ISP.
So it becomes an official goal.
Yes.
Because I can imagine, just thinking of participants I've worked with in the past, I know 99% of them, when they say, that's cool, now I can be able to access my things. There's always that, one person that's like, I want to write it down because I don't want anything I have to plug in. Like, that's those sorts of things. Like, is it, so far, has it been working with, by checking in with the participants, like an annual or quarterly, like, is it still good? Or is it just, if it's a problem, we'll just solve it and go to the next one?
We're not there yet but the idea is that we're doing a monthly check-in to do that. Are we meeting the goals or meeting the barriers that we're supposed to be doing? If it's a success, or if we need to be looking at other avenues to focus on those ISP goals.
I feel like a too is just like, if it works for them and if it makes their lives a lot better, that's a freaking success in my eyes.
Yeah. And each person's different as far as of what works and what doesn't work and how they're going to respond to it and not respond and how many checks you have to do. So we've been doing the remote monitoring for over 10 years, and we do check-ins every month just to make sure, is it working for you still? Is something not working? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What's difficult? Because sometimes they won't tell you right away that something's not working, or maybe a staff is struggling with it and not the individual is struggling with it. So you have to tweak it a little bit and change things. So it is a constant way to look and check in and make sure it's still working for them, because they'll even outgrow it, right?
Yeah, I think something that people can do now, and I saw your hand, we'll get to you in a second. One thing that you can even do now is really creating like a baseline of where your clients are at that you think would be good for technology, and start collecting that data now. For instance, a client that has a Ring camera now, right? If they don't have staff, there's pretty much 100% chance that they're going to elope or that they're going to walk out of their house because they heard a noise. Versus if they have a camera and they heard something, they can look at outside, see what's there. Maybe it's nothing, and they stay indoors. So you're preventing some, basically an incident from occurring, right? There's prevention there. Or if you have a sensor that alerts you when the smoke detector goes off, you're responding right away, helping that client potentially in an emergency, or maybe they just forgot to turn the fan on when they're cooking. And so if that sensor wasn't there and that the smoke detector was going off, we wouldn't know until potentially it's too late. And we really don't know if it's something simple or something major happening.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Don Shirley, president of Safe and Home, who was Desmond was referencing, and pretty much my comment was answered through everyone. These are fluid systems that are put together that we're continuously updating. We are continuously assessing the client's sentiment. How are they doing with this? Is their life what they want it to be, and how can we help support that? So it is and Pam, you hit it right there. It's an ongoing. Is this still working for you? What do we need to do to adjust in whatever way is meaningful? And that's the key thing that we're getting into now is what is meaningful for the person on service, not just what is maintenance for the person on service.
I was just thinking for Pam doing this for 10 years, I can't imagine the technology you started with to the technology of today. So when you talk about the continual assessment I don't know, how many of you guys are using your cell phone from 10 years ago? I doubt it, right? And so I just think that's also going to be part of this, is saying that technology is always going to go to the Abilities Expo in LA sometime at the LA Convention Center, and you'll find out holy moly, the stuff they're doing now. So I was thinking it'd be really cool to see all the stuff you used 10 years ago to what's today, and to say, yes, you're continually assessing, and you always will be.
And I think talking to that point is it got simpler. Like in the beginning, you're all excited by the technology yourself, so you tend to make it a little more complicated than it needs to be. And as the years go by, you really simplify it, and it gets really by need more than by the shiny object. Ooh, let's have that shiny object. It's really you calm it down as an agency too, and you're looking at, okay, what is the basic need? Because it could be something that's not even high tech. It could be a jar opener. It could be something so simple that's a little piece, and it's not a high tech piece.
I'd say the recommendation is watch Shark Tank, because there's always going to be new technology on Shark Tank, especially about the jar opener. I would get that on. Research Shark Tank.
So I was going to say that for Todd, his favorite piece of equipment that we got technology-wise is just the weighted utensils that he has.
And that's low tech.
And that's low tech.
Yeah,
that's just
high tech. That's nothing like a bespoke fridge.
Yeah.
Or in vision glasses.
Aye.
Sorry.
And
Vision glasses for sale.
And also,
Oh, Todd's gonna say something.
Sorry, Todd.
like the VI,
Oh, the
VRI
Apple.
as well. Those machines are really complicated.
I think he's talking about the
Yeah, virtual VR. I can't even remember what that is.
Virtual reality.
For the deaf
Yeah, they're
person,
vir-
it's a lot.
Yeah.
The little, like the VR machine thing. And they're like
And it's like-
$3,000. They're super expensive. I don't really think you need them.
But when you talk about virtual reality, they're now making those to train staff. And to also create training environments for people when it's something difficult to train, like crossing a busy street. And you can do it through the glasses and not actually get run over if you make a mistake.
You wear them out while you're crossing.
Yeah, that would definitely.
So once you've assessed clients,
I agree.
thank you. So once you've, you've selected your clients, you've assessed them, This is where you will start to discuss ordering and installing tech, but really what does that mean? That's where you get into the nitty gritty. Fortunately for us, as Desmond mentioned, we have Pam here who has worked with us as a consulting agency throughout that process and made it a little easier for us to begin that. And part of our first steps was selecting a vendor. And we wanted to go with one that really coordinated with the most clients across the board. And we wanted to create a list of questions for other vendors or other agencies to ask. So there's a list of questions that I uploaded, and also just made some copies here on the table. There's some things that maybe I forgot to ask that I learned about in the process. And there's also different questions on devices that you can ask. So for instance, before installing blinds, right? The small details, are they vertical or horizontal? Or if you're gonna install a gas stove stopper, you might need the gas valve size. And that could also take time to get as well.
Or is it four-pronged?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So before purchasing separate devices, one of the questions that you can ask is there one platform that can fit multiple tech solutions? This can limit the number of account logins you will need to generate and keep track of, as well as limit the amount of training you will have to introduce to your staff. If medication dispensers are a top priority, keep in mind that for right now, most of them require a separate login to manage from the vendor that you select. Even though a vendor might offer a selection of devices, this could still require multiple accounts to be created for each client, so that's something that you might want to ask when you're meeting with different vendors. And then you also want to decide if your agency is going to take on the remote monitoring or outsource the remote monitoring, because that could be a big impact on how you go about it. I just realized I don't have my other slide up for you guys. There we go. So once you've selected a vendor, the process could take anywhere from 3 to 6 months from the time demos are scheduled, agreements are signed, and tech is programmed and installed. While waiting for tech installations to be scheduled, accommodation requests can be submitted to property managers or landlords for any device that might alter the current unit, since these can also take several months to get approved as well. Some properties might have their own policies to consider before approving a request, such as having a certified plumber or electrician complete certain installations. When submitting requests, it would be good to have an idea of what your vendor can install and what you will need the property to install if the vendor can't install every device, which could be true for add-on devices. If a vendor is open to adding on devices, this can make for a longer programming time and installation process. When deciding on what tech to order, having detailed information prepared can help save some time. And the rest is just referencing to the list of questions that we have. Any questions so far from the installation or ordering tech process? It can be a little daunting, I think, but partnering with other agencies could be helpful. And then also when it comes to installing tech, maybe not installing 10 different pieces all on the same day. If you're doing one system, that's different because it feels invisible to clients, but when you bring in glasses and an oven and a device that they press a button with and an Alexa, all that in one day is really hard to process, I think, for anyone to remember all those commands. When you're introducing one tech device, that alone could take 2 to 3 hours of just showing the client how it works, working on different commands and how to practice with it for when you leave, because you're going to come back and there are going to be questions, but you want to leave them with the basics of that.
I mean, when we think about putting Alexa in our own house and how many times we couldn't get her to do what we wanted her to do, so it can be challenging.
Yeah.
This is all really, really helpful. Thank you for this. In your guys' experience, did you come across anything that you plan to use or install that you were throwing a curveball? Like, let's install these blinds, but then the HOA showed up and said no.
Oh, it was more like they were the wrong blinds for the
Yeah.
wrong windows.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, like Pam said, we ordered a bunch of the automatic blinds, and then for 2 of the houses, and we came out to do installations, and they're not the right blinds. They don't work in that thing, so we had purchased, or we got them for no reason.
Yeah, they were touch blinds, so it wasn't going to work with any of the automatic blinds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I ran a pretty close line when it came to getting an approval for a request for accommodation and the technician installation dates. And I mean, I started the request in, say, December, right? And here we are in February, and I'm still pending an approval, and the technician is supposed to be here this week. So I kept following up with them, and I was getting delayed by the property, unfortunately. And I was very communicative about the installations being scheduled on a certain day. And it just so happened that the technician was out sick that week, so we had to reschedule. By the time he came back, it was approved. But I really was running a tight line there, and that's more on the paper bureaucracy side than on the tech side. So you do run into walls in pretty much every direction sometimes. But then, a lot of this tech, you don't know how it's going to act until it's in motion. And that's a part of the risk, is that you have to be willing to implement it. And as long as, no one's life is at stake in that moment, it's just the risk that you take when you're installing.
And I think that goes to the point that it's so important for agencies to have their, just one second, Todd, I'm sorry. It's so important for agencies to have their, I forgot what I was going to say now with that. I'll come back. I totally forgot.
I have something to add to the curveballs that we got. And on my own, one of our ILS clients, he has a roommate that's not with our agency. He's an SLS client, and his roommate is an ILS client, not with our agency. And I actually had put in a safe and home system there, and I was working with the tech. We're doing all the client training, and we're getting it all, we're wrapping up. We're so excited. He was the very first client to have remote supports fully with safe and home in California. So it was like a big moment. Well, his roommate changed his mind. His roommate said, "I don't want this in my house." And he said those magic words, "This makes me uncomfortable." And I was like, no, in my head. And I was like, okay. So, it was just working it out and talking with him, and kind of asking, can you talk to me about what makes you uncomfortable? And just that moment of training, and, luckily we all got on board, but that was definitely a curveball that I did not foresee happening, like a change of mind right there.
I remember. So each agency, as a provider, you need to build your own skill like this. Having somebody from the outside coming in isn't going to help you with all these little details. It's going to prolong the process. We all have to gain that skill ourselves as providers to make this work. And that's why having collaboration and talking to each other and sharing the knowledge, this isn't something that we're going to hold and not share it with you, or you're going to hold and not share. It's not going to work for our industry. We all need the knowledge. We all need to share in order for this to work for everybody.
Yeah, one last thing is, we had a client that started in ILS and now they're in SLS. So that's one curveball too, is with the client. And so some of their needs increased, but we just have adjusted and have added some tech to help make up for some of those increased hours too. But that was a curveball, because you start with one assessment and not even 6 months later, you're kind of having to go back and reassess.
I would say another curveball that came through was I think Pam and her team was coming out to install the remote monitoring system, and we had a as they were in the middle of the installation, the employer or the cohort was, I don't know if I want this in my house anymore. I was like, I thought we sat down, we talked about this. She was like, I don't want them watching me. And I was like, okay, so we had to go back again and explain that these aren't cameras. You're just making sure that you're safe in place, that if staff isn't here, that you wanted the independence this time. And she's, oh, okay, I guess. But now after a few weeks that she's had it, she loves all the new technology. But it's just that you never know. You can plan for 100 things, but that one curveball will come in and kind of change everything.
It's scary sometimes. It's all scary. It's new.
Yeah, and there's usually that one kind of piece that they'll stick to, a client will stick to, and it keeps them going. There's one last video, 2 minutes, but it's just, we're getting a glimpse from a couple of our clients and their experience with the pilot.
That's a question.
Oh, I've had a question.
I learned in a class, the ADA, the engineering, they said that there's a requirement with ADA laws, with the measurements that have to be specific. But I was thinking in the future, they should build it better, and it should be already the measurements and the technology to fit for disabled people to move into any home that's been built.
That would be smart.
Smart home.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Small.
That's what one of the teachers told me in that class. There's a specific engineering measurements.
He's talking about like the ramps and the
Yeah.
doorways
Yep.
and the door to make homes accessible.
And that's been a tough experience. But it is an ADA law. Those measurements are supposed to be specific width. But they're not. It's okay, so what is it, like 30 something? 7 by 7. That's what they told me. That was like a basic information, so in the future, that technology also will change. But then you have an old house. What do you do then?
Is that a question?
Complaint.
Yeah.
Well, with the old house. Because
Smart-
yeah, with
smart home advocacy.
with old houses.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Old house.
Nothing to do. In like 1940.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of bureaucracy at that point, but also working with property managers and stuff to see how it can be. Got it.
That's good.
Got it. Yeah, I think in the future there will be a lot more installations that are automatic, that we don't have to request.
I don't think it's better. What if it's Sue and we're like, oh,
You pissed? We digress.
Yeah. Well, I have a client whose house is really old too, and so and their family member owns it, so we've had to put in a lot of different accommodations throughout the pilot too, for them to live safely in their home. Yeah.
I'm listening from Cincinnati, Ohio. I know I've been with EVI since 1994. I never had a doorbell with a camera. I'm impressed. I was excited. Those nice people helped me, show me all the different projects. Keep working on system. I like to talk in microwave. You can tell how it warm up your food in microwave.
I've been with these Innovating about 5 years. Forming was nice, I tell you. Things will come out right on time. Nothing to worry about. It just comes on and push the button, and the green button comes. I think it's a nice program to get into, and I think it's never had this before, and I think it'll be nice, and y'all can share with other agencies.
Final thoughts. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You can plan things out as perfectly as you think you can, and then you're going to make mistakes. You might make one, you might make a ton, but just stick with it. Technology is going to be a great thing for people to grab their independence, and just stick it out.
When it comes to having assessments and installations, just discuss a backup plan, what devices might require an on-call response versus some devices that don't require as urgent of a response.
Some of the most important things you want to think about when you're implementing technology for the first time is to really look at a client's ISP, because when you're looking and researching devices, if you integrate them into a client's ISP goals, ultimately that's what we're all doing here. We're trying to increase the client's quality of life and help them reach the goals that they've crafted, created, and work towards. So you definitely want to make sure that your tech is part of their ISP plan, not just an addendum that gets added on, but something that helps them reach their goals. And secondly is you have to really involve the SCs in the planning team, and it's going to be hard because not a lot of SCs are going to know about assistive technology or what you're talking about half the time, and it might even kind of be a nerve-wracking or frightening thing. So you really want to make sure that you take it slow and really involve the planning team in approving all the devices and educating them and training them, so that way there's less hesitancy and it just sets a better stage for success with your client.